Hey guys, this is part 3 of our go-kart build, and today, as we mentioned in part 2, we're going to be rebuilding this Volvo turbo. This came off an 850. We already have the wastegate diaphragm removed. The next thing, or the first thing that we're going to start with is removing the blow-off valve, which is right here. So there's 3 bolts for that, and I already loosened them up. So all we do is we just remove these, then this piece will come off. So here's the blow-off valve. It's pretty dirty inside. We're going to clean up all these parts, that way they can go back together. Okay, so I got the blow-off valve all cleaned up, both sides of it.
And I also finished cleaning the intake part of the turbo.
So now we're going to take the turbo apart. We're going to separate the intake housing from the turbine wheel portion. So there's a snap ring down right here, and that basically holds the intake housing to this portion of the turbo. So we're going to go ahead and remove that now. Okay, so we just got the snap ring off. Now we can go ahead and remove the turbine portion from the intake housing. Okay, so here's the turbine portion separated from the intake housing. Now we're going to take this intake housing and clean it up even more, and I'm going to start working on disassembling the turbine portion and rebuilding it. Okay, so the next part we're going to take apart is we're going to separate the turbine wheels, these 2 wheels right here, from the portion in the middle. So there's a nut on this side right here, and it's got threads on it, and this side is a straight through piece. So I'll put this side in a vise, and then you can back off this nut right here. This is a 5/16 nut right here. So that is now loosened. I loosened it up there. I'll just take the wrench, just remove it a little bit more. So there's the nut removed from the end of the straight through shaft. Now you can take the turbine wheel for the intake, and that will just slide right off like that. Now the next thing we're going to remove is a snap ring, and it's on the inside of this portion right here. There's a snap ring in there, and we're going to remove that next. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, so here's the snap ring removed from the turbine housing. The next part we're going to remove is this piece right here with this indentation. We're going to have to put a pair of pliers around that and pull it out. There's also a new snap ring for right here included in our rebuild kit, and also this piece, the next piece that we'll be removing. Okay, so I just got this piece separated from the shaft, the turbine shaft right there, and this also has this baffle device inside it. We're going to be replacing this piece and these 2 other pieces right here. The next piece we can remove is this black piece on the inside right here. If you just fit your finger in through this open spot on the side, you should be able to pull that out. Just grab it with the needle nose, and there's the piece. This is going to be replaced as well. There's the insert piece removed, and that's the next thing we'll remove from the turbine wheel. So now we have pretty much everything removed. Now the next thing is removing the exhaust shaft right here from the middle portion. Okay, so in order to remove the exhaust turbine wheel, there's a rubber O-ring in between this shaft piece here at the back. So that's sealed on there pretty good, so you will have to apply quite a bit of pressure to get it off. Once you have it off though, it'll just slide out right like that. And then this cover as well will come off. We also have a new one of these to replace. This cover right here. We'll also clean this up here now that it's fully disassembled, and then we'll begin putting it back together.
Okay, now what I have here is the intake part of the turbo. I also have the exhaust portion of the turbo as well, and I'm just degreasing them, and then we're going to paint this part up right here, the exhaust portion, and we're going to put it back together and see what it looks like. Okay, so now we have the exhaust portion of the turbo. This is the exhaust housing, and we're just going to be hitting it with some black, and then we're going to show you what it looks like when it's done.
Okay, so all our parts are painted. We got the exhaust housing here, the blow-off valve, and the middle section of the turbo. We're going to take this and start assembling all of our parts to it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take our shaft right here with the exhaust wheel on it, and we're going to lubricate the parts that we put on. So we got some motor oil right here, some 5W30. I'm just going to dip my finger in and then put some of the motor oil right here along the shaft, right where this bearing is going to go. That way all the parts slide together really easily. Take your bearing and then push it straight down onto the shaft. And before this can go on, we have this cap right here. We're going to take this cap, and this one doesn't need any motor oil on it, so we're just going to place it straight on where the other one would go, the old one. Then we're going to take our exhaust shaft, or our turbine wheel shaft, then slide it right in to the assembly. And then you'll need to apply some force here at the end to get it to seat into place, just like the original, like that. So now it's seated in properly. Now we're going to flip it around and we're going to start putting the parts on this side. Okay, so the next part we're going to install is the other bearing on the other side. So we have the turbo on the other side right here. We're going to dip our finger in some of the motor oil right there. And I'm just going to put it inside the bearing like that. Drop it into place. Just push it into the hole that it goes into right there. The next part is this little spacer right here that goes in between. It goes down the shaft and it will space out this next piece of metal that will install behind it. So take some more motor oil on your finger, just put it on the end of that spacer, slide it down onto the shaft, and that one just hovers in place like that. And now we'll take this next piece, just rub some of the motor oil on that piece. And then this one lines up with a screw right here in the turbo, right inside there. So that just seats in place like that. The next thing we'll install is a O-ring, and that goes on the inside right here around this lip. So here's the seal right here. We're going to dip our finger in the oil and put it all around the seal like this. Make sure you clean out the area where the old seal came out of. Then take the new seal and push it into place just very gently, that way you don't break the seal. Okay, so the next piece we're going to install is this baffle device right here. This has got a spacer and an insert right in the middle of it right there with a metal washer holding it together so it doesn't go back through. And we're going to set that up. So in our rebuild kit, we got this piece right here, same as the old one. We also have that insert and that washer. Going to put some oil all over these parts like so. Do the same with that insert. And then the same with the washer. We're going to install this insert into this piece right here the exact same way the old one was. So we'll push it through the bottom with this side sticking up. And then we'll take this metal washer and push down on both sides and then lock it into that groove that it sits in right there. So now that that's all installed, we got that piece ready to go. We'll move the old one to the side, and this piece is what all of this is going to go into. So we'll put some more motor oil on our finger and then put it all throughout the inside of this piece right here. Now we can take this portion and install it the same way as the old one, and then push up through this hole. Make sure that that insert or that bolt is straight, and push it right through, and it just snaps into place like that. Then you're going to take this side that's got the piece sticking down, and then you're going to line that up and put it onto the shaft, and then line it up with the spot on the inside that's open, and then just push it straight down like that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to install, now that we have that piece installed right there, is we have a brand new snap ring included in this rebuild kit. So we're going to oil this up as well. Put a little bit of oil on your finger and then rub it around the snap ring right here. That way it has good contact with this metal piece. And then this is going to go around that chrome colored metal right there and hold it all in place. Okay, so we got the snap ring installed right here, and that's holding everything together. Everything moves freely, the turbine wheel spins easily. The last thing we're going to install, well, not the last thing, but one of the things that we're going to install is the outside O-ring right here. And I recommend to remove that, and when you do, clean out the inside right there in case there's some dirt in there. Take some oil on your finger like so, and just lube up this oil ring as well, right there. And then you can put it on the outside, right into the gap it seats into. It should go on pretty easy like that. And now the next thing we're going to install is the turbine wheel for the intake. And we cleaned this one up right here, so it's all looking new. We'll slide this on. The last thing we're going to install is our nut right here to hold it all together. So screw that onto the end. And then tighten it up. Tighten it up right against the intake turbine wheel. And then your turbo rebuild is finished. So that wraps up this video on our turbo rebuild for our go-kart build. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, and check back for part 4.